and I will be leading our webinar today. So some quick things about the library itself. We will be reopening to the public February 1st, so this coming Monday. We will be retaining our current curbside hours, so that's 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and then Sunday will be open from noon to 6. We will be operating under a grab-and-go method. So things may be different at the library, but we are so excited to open our doors again and see all of y'all patrons. If you don't want to come into the library, all of our curbside and virtual services are still going to be offered. So you can always book a one-on-one appointment with the librarians at on our website, champaign.org/book-a-librarian. We're always available for live chat during our open hours, and then you can always just at your leisure, shoot us an email at librarian@champaign.org. So I'm going to go over a couple of Zoom little things for today's webinar. So on your lower left-hand corner, this is a webinar. So if you would like to talk, I am so happy to unmute you. We have a small group this morning, so we can definitely operate this in a meeting format, but all of your vocal controls like volume settings, that's in the lower left-hand corner. It looks like a microphone. That's where you can control those. In the middle, you'll find the chat option, and I always like to remind people, make sure you know who you are chatting to. So if you click on the two, you'll see all panelists or all panelists and attendees. So I'm just going to type in a hi. Good morning. So if you just want to ask me a question, make sure that just says all panelists. If you want to share an opinion or a question with everyone else who's still here, make sure that says all panelists and attendees. I really encourage you to use the chat to ask any technical questions you may have, like if you're not able to hear me or if something with Zoom isn't working, and just questions about the webinar. Again, we have a small group this morning, so you guys let's take advantage of it. I can definitely cater this presentation to where everyone is at and where they want to go with their business. All right, so again, this is being recorded and it will be uploaded to our YouTube channel in addition to being emailed out to all the registrants. So if you're not okay with that, then that's perfectly fine. Just be conscious of what you're sharing. All right, let's go ahead and get started by going to my second thing. All right, how will your business succeed? I am really curious. How many of you are currently what phase of your entrepreneurial journey are you in? Do you have a business? Do you have an idea? Have you tested this idea out before? Have you even tried to create a business plan? So feel free to type in the chat where exactly you are right now. Again, that helps me kind of cater and decide what I want to talk about today and where I can best help you all. So a business success rate, it isn't the best. So most businesses fail within the first 5 years, and even according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, only 25% of businesses actually succeed within the 10 years. Okay, Caroline already has a business, but it's in the young stages. How exciting. And you know what? A lot of people think even before they have to start their business, before they start doing any work, they have to have a business plan. But most commonly, the most successful entrepreneurs actually write their business plan within or between the 6-month and 12-month period. Oh, we have someone else who's owned 3 businesses and they're starting a new business. That's fantastic. Terry, you're going to have to share some of your awesome experience with everyone else. All right, so by setting yourself up for success, we're going to be brainstorming utilizing a lean canvas approach and then turning that lean canvas into a business plan. So I also want to remind everyone, if you have access to the internet right now, able to use a computer, I recommend pulling up champaign.org, having your library card on hand, because we will be using some of our amazing databases we're just going to plug in some things and make business plans today. All right, we have someone else. I've had a business for 4 years, but never wrote a business plan, so I do so now. Excellent. Yeah, there's no time like the present to start. All right. So we're going to touch base on this. So first off, just the agenda today. I really like to focus on customer-oriented ideation. So this is essentially putting your product or service first, ensuring that it's fulfilling a customer need, and then allowing that customer need to dictate what you're creating, what product you're doing, what service you're going to be generating, and letting that kind of dictate and form your business and dictate choices that you make regarding finding funding and also just future developments. So we're going to be using the Gale Business Plan Builder, and don't worry, I'll show you exactly how to access that. So we're starting off with a lean model canvas. And then after we complete that, we're going to be going into building up the business plan. And then lastly, using another database, Statista, for market and financial data. So we love numbers, especially people who invest in your business love numbers. So we have the tools for that. All right, so the ideation process. So this is two things. So this image is taken from Vima. So they are an idea validation service. So I thought it was a beautiful rendering of Eric Ries's Lean Startup. So I'm sure a lot of people who have been in business are probably familiar with this, but I am so obsessed with this because it really is a great way of validating your business idea and eliminating just without wasting time and energy. So one thing I always think of is Google. We're all familiar with this really big corporation, big company. And do you all remember Google Glass? Those amazing, freaky glasses that slightly infringed upon your privacy. What Google loves to do. So this is a really great example of why ideation is so important, because Google Glass was a seemingly good idea that was executed. So they went through the production, they had a huge marketing campaign, big blowout. I can't imagine how much money they spent on it. But it was an item that no one really wanted or needed. So not only was it marketed pretty badly, it also looked unattractive. It had some safety and health concerns, and it was like around $1,500. So the price didn't make the situation or the product any better. And it also failed to offer any clear benefit to the user. So they had no idea what their target customer audience was. And everyone, when they saw it, they were like, okay, why do I need this? And from my opinion, it really only served to violate people's privacy a little bit more easily. So that is an example of why it is so important, even if you already have your business thought out and already have an idea of what you want, it's still really important to go through this ideation process. Validating your idea to ensure that you're not wasting, again, time and energy. So starting off with defining your goals. So this incorporates identifying your problem. So is your service or product something that is solving a problem? And is it even a problem worth solving? It also really helps if you're solving a problem that you yourself have, because you're able to essentially talk about it even more. You're able to relate to your product or service, making it more personal, basically helping drive your energy around creating this amazing business. It also focuses defining your goal on solutions. So will it actually solve your problem that you have? Does someone else already solving it? Is someone else already solving it? Also focusing on your features. So how exactly will your product or service work? And also focusing on the price, maybe considering a business model. What sort of licensure do I need to have in order to make this idea come to fruition? So for you, it might be an assumption that is more likely to happen, but you can also start with the fact that your idea might have the biggest downside, or the world's worst expected value. So defining your goals allows you to map out all of your assumptions pertaining to your specific product or service and prioritize the specific ones that are most critical for your idea to succeed. So next is developing that hypothesis. I love the scientific method. And time and again, it keeps on working. So this is where you start from the most critical assumption that you kind of defined within your goals. So this is the one that's the most likely to fail and would also have direct consequences. So what would have to be true for your hypothesis to be feasible? So a great example of this is Airbnb. So their critical assumption was that people were willing to stay at a stranger's house and that homeowners were willing to rent out their homes to strangers, which I am a user of Airbnb and like VRBO. It's my favorite way to travel, but when you just kind of spell it out, it's definitely creepy. That is a uncomfortable critical assumption. So Airbnb, their critical assumption was that people are willing to share their homes with strangers. So even though house swapping was already a validated concept, like couch surfing, even renting from a friend, Airbnb's concept was different in that it was validated before they even created their business model. So the founders were actually looking for ways to pay their rent when they realized there was a huge conference in their town and all the hotels were booked up. So the founders bought 3 air beds to the apartment and they allowed their guests an Airbnb experience where they then offered them a tour of the city. So that one renting, just making money off of sharing their space, allowed them to pay their rent, excuse me, and validate their business idea at the same time. So coming up with the hypotheses aren't difficult typically. So the most important thing here is to define the minimum success criteria for the test. So that's not always easy. So for example, if 8 people out of 10 would say they'd rather sleep in a hotel than on someone's couch, does that mean that Airbnb's idea is invalid? So when it comes to your, for example, contact lens business, your most critical assumption is whether people are willing to make a purchase online as well as the price they're willing to pay for it, when it might be more feasible for them to just pay a higher price out of their optometrist's office. So this is, again, develop a hypothesis, most critical assumption. Next, we have experiment and revise. So this is essentially where you find the fastest and cheapest way to test your assumption in practice. So this is where Eric Ries's lean startup really comes into play, because he argues that you need to build a minimum viable product, so your MVP, I don't know why I always want an MVP, to test your critical assumptions. So you're essentially picking that critical assumption and asking yourself, what early version of my desired product or service can I build to test this assumption before, again, investing my time and energy into making this huge business plan and spending a lot of money on maybe multiple products before even figuring out if people want it. So here's a guideline that Eric Ries recommends to create your MVP. So what component, feature, or process of your ideal product is not absolutely necessary to test your assumption? So an MVP is your lean version of your final product, but it's still functional and valuable to your loyal customers. So I always like to think of like a car. We're not, so if my end product is probably going to be a car, I'm going to start with a bicycle, because even though it's not as convenient as a car, I mean, it still works, it still gets to your way, and maybe my bicycle will, after some testing with some of my ideal customers, turn into a moped. And after I get feedback on this moped, it then becomes this 4-wheel SUV, which is the desired product. So in opposition, the traditional way of building a business plan is just coming up with an idea without testing it, assuming it's going to be amazing. So this would be coming up with a wheel. And people don't want just a wheel. So you're like, okay, so after I've spent a couple of months trying to sell people on this wheel, I have now the base of a car. So maybe 4 wheels and a piece of plywood. People still don't want that. And then finally, you come to that 4-wheel SUV. So again, by testing out your MVP or by releasing your MVP, you're able to, again, save a lot of time and energy, make this the easiest thing for you. So what are ways that you can kind of experiment and test out your business plan? And I'm really curious, for those who do have a business or have owned a business, did you follow some similar procedures? Oh, MVP stood for, it stands for the minimum viable product. So again, that is what you're creating, your service or product that tests out your hypothesis. Yeah, so again, we're all about saving time, saving energy, connecting with your customers, which that's another one. Oh, you're welcome. And figuring out what they want, what you can produce or service that they will actually need. So again, I'll go back to what I was saying earlier. Has anyone, when they were making their business plan, or people who have owned businesses or do own business, did you test your idea on a small target audience, small customer base before going forward? So I'm very curious to see if that's happened. And while you all respond, I'm going to continue talking about the rest of the ideation process. So what are ways that we can experiment this MVP and show it to others? Up, we have currently using a lean startup and have done SurveyMonkey to gain consumer input. Snaps to that. Fantastic. That is so great. So yeah, SurveyMonkey is a great way to get feedback from your ideal consumer. You can also create maybe just a fake landing page. One example that I love, have you all heard of the board game or the card game Exploding Kittens? So this was a comic strip company who used Kickstarter in order to essentially create a multi-million-dollar card game. They didn't even have the product. So their MVP was literally just some pictures and a description of how to play the game. And people were so excited. Granted, they were already fans of this cartoon artist. They were so excited about the game product that they completely blew their Kickstarter out of the water and end up earning millions of dollars. So without even creating a product, because using their like web channels, they had social media, SurveyMonkeys sent out to previous customers of their books. They were able to raise enough capital, raised more capital than initially expected, and sell this board game. So Terry, you said you used SurveyMonkey. How did you go about finding the people to ask? I'm very curious. So when you're asking people for feedback, well, if Terry would like to respond, no pressure. You want to ask for feedback by getting ideas, responses, comments, looking for common answers to the following themes. So you want to see who exactly is going to buy your product. That is your target market. So who is most excited when you talk about it with them, when you maybe get some information about like, what would you consider using this? Basically the demographics of the individuals who are getting back to you with some positive affirmations. There's your target market. Next one is the price. So what people are actually paying for it. This is another great thing to put in your survey, asking them just explicitly, how much would you consider paying for this service or product? What would be worth this service or product? And then lastly, demand. So you're understanding the people who will keep buying, keep paying for it. Are you creating a product or service that is one and done, or is it something that people are going to be continually invested in the future? So lastly, we have the validate, which I'm actually going to cross out validate. I'm pretending to cross it out. And I prefer the term pivot here. So instead of by validating your product, you're going to then decide whether you're going to stay with it or go straight back to the drawing board. Again, saving yourself a lot of time and energy. So this is you seeing, honestly, just getting out of the building. So that's a Steve Blank. He's a serial entrepreneur, Stanford professor, and honestly, the grandfather of the lean startup movement. But he really recommends just getting out of your building, really kind of thinking outside of your current headspace and being really honest with what you've so far come up with. It's so frustrating. And oh, okay, we have some comments. I'm going to continue this thought. It is so frustrating when people tell you no, but that is the most realistic thing ever. So there's no difference between theory and practice there is, which is again another quote from this amazing Steve Blank. Highly recommend checking out his books. But this is just seeing if you need to proceed or pivot. So we have two comments. Terry, who had used SurveyMonkey, he used SurveyMonkey to gain consumer input. Okay, so you used your own address book. So neighbors, friends, peers that you already knew, 1,500 people. That's amazing. Engaging them to reach out to friends and family. Yeah, offered a drawing for a $100 gift certificate for input. Yeah, I would absolutely participate in that. Who doesn't want $100? And then someone else, I had a semi-successful Kickstarter and created a launch page for a month or two to capture potential customers. Fantastic. Those are amazing, amazing ideas, or amazing procedures that you use to get some feedback from your clients. And if anyone would like to get a really good list of, I have a great resource for like an interview structure example. I will follow up this presentation once I send out the recording with that said list. All right, so does anyone have any questions about the lean startup model and this ideation process before we move on to the good stuff? This is still good, but I'm excited about filling out our database and you guys using it. Okay, so I'm exiting out. Canva, you did a great job of this. I'm still screen sharing. I just want to confirm that you all can see the Champaign Public Library page. I believe you still should be able to, yes, thank you so much, Caroline. So champaign.org, if you're at a computer, I would love it if you followed along with me so you can just start the process of filling out this lean canvas and starting your business plan. So first things first, we're gonna go to business. Arguably the best page here. I'm very biased. And scrolling all the way down, and these are a list of our business tools that you can use. So we're going to use Gale Business Plan Builder. So I am clicking on this right now. And this is just a brief description, but the Use Gale Business Plan Builder, so you can see it's highlighting into blue, go ahead and click on that. Note that it's not prompting me to put in your library card or PIN number, and that's because I am physically in the library building. So if you don't have a library card, if you need one, please contact me. I'm happy to get you a temporary card and figure out ways in which you can utilize our resources. Again, we're opening up to the public on Monday. So you could also, if you don't want to get a library card, come into the building physically, get on a computer and access this. All right, so has anyone kind of played around with this database yet? While you guys put in your responses, we're going to go ahead and sign in. So I wonder if my this one is still signed in. That's good. Okay, I'm going to sign in to CP Librarian. This is kind of our test one. Okay, so someone has an Urbana library card. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I can hook you up. So let's see if I remember the fake login I made. And staff. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is what you all should be seeing. I haven't filled this one out at all, but this is the Gale Business Plan dashboard. It is such an amazing resource to use because it leads you through. I mean, it's literally a guide. You can see this guide me right here. I went ahead and clicked on it, and it explains what the dashboard is if you're new to entrepreneurship and what you can fill out. So I also am switching to my other screen. This is a dashboard that I have completely filled out. So I'm going to go ahead, not started. Whoop, whoop. Looks like I'm going to Librarian test, okay. It looks like I can't log into more than 2 accounts at once. So I think it's gonna be, okay, do not have a library card. Okay, great. Yeah, I can, again, help you get a library card if you need one. So since I can't have 2 at the same time, I'm gonna go ahead and open an incognito window and do the same thing. Going to the business page once it loads. And plan builder. All right, so now I'm logging in with the account that I had used to fill out this form. Okay. All right, so you can see since I have done the majority of things here, everything is complete. So I'm gonna go ahead and just quickly show you the entrepreneur profile. So this is what I've already filled out. Let me make this bigger so it's easier. So if you're not completely sure if you want to be an entrepreneur, if maybe you're like, oh, I need some help kind of understanding what I need to do, what my resources are, what my personality is, and if that's compatible with being an entrepreneur. So this is what it looks like if you're in there. Again, it's really wonderful the fact that they have prompts. So these are just ones that I made. So you can see this purple box right here, that is the edit box. And I love the fact that Gale Business Plan, they give you these prompts to really help you understand and kind of brainstorm how to answer all of these questions. You can't see the prompts. So do you see this blue box that I just highlighted? Is my screen frozen? I don't think so. You know what? I think it's, yep, thank you guys for letting me know. It is because my screen share is still on. Okay, now you should be able to see the prompts. I changed the screen share, yes. I apologize. Thank you guys so much for shouting that out. Okay, so these are the prompts. I'll show you again how to get to that. So this is a completed, I'll actually go back to the beginning so you can see how I got there. Okay, completed dashboard. You notice it says complete on the side. I'm clicking on entrepreneur profile. This is what I had filled out and that's what it's showing. So you can edit your profile at any time. It's also really nice because if you want to download this, it exports it to a PDF or other form you can use. So here's what kind of support network can I rely on. Clicking this, here's some prompts that they include. So amplifying questions. Again, it just allows you to kind of think through, and this is, again, not specifically related to lean stacks and business plans, but still something I think is worth filling out just because it allows you to brainstorm and think about all the resources you have and how invested you are in your entrepreneurial journey. Okay, so business ideation. Here is our beautiful lean canvas. So this is the finished product. I'm going to go in and edit. So if you're able to do this on your computer, I really recommend you starting this. So I think most people here should be familiar with the lean canvas, but I'm just going to go over it and then we're going to break it down section by section. I encourage you to just, if you don't have access to this at the moment, have a piece of paper and just write down maybe the numbers because we're going to be going through each of them and just write down what comes to mind. So you'll notice this is not organized correctly. I mean, for me, it's a little uncomfortable because I have, okay, the problem on the left-hand side, customer segments on the right. I mean, my numbers are going in every which way. There is meaning behind this. This is because the left-hand side, so if you're cutting that unique value propositions in half, the left side is focused on your product or service, the right side is focused on your market. So it really allows you to brainstorm. This is essentially the blueprint of your business plan. So this was popularized by, again, the Lean Startup Movement by Eric Rice, but this one is modified from the Ashmara version from the book Running Lean. So this is based on Steve Blank's worksheets, and then also Alex Osterwalder's business model canvas. Again, business canvas, yeah. Thanks, Jamila. So this should be, you should be able to fill this out in 20 minutes. That's why it is so incredible. And also it asks you what is really important for all of these specific categories. So it's a really transformative process. And the fact that it's all on one page, you can quickly understand, and also if you're doing an elevator pitch, you quickly want to give this to a potential client or customer, you can quickly understand most of what you need to know about the business at a glance. So this also lets you easily compare and contrast multiple business ideas if you're not positive what you want to go ahead with. So, okay, once we've settled on the ideation, let's go ahead. We're going to go ahead and fill this out. So first things first is the problem or the solution, problem/solution. And I'm going to go back to screen share the other page so you can see. Okay, so back to my PowerPoint. So I'm just gonna stay on the PowerPoint for a while. So your problems and solutions. You're asking yourself, what are the 1 to 3 problems that you're actually gonna solve? So how does your solution fix the problem? If you don't have a clear idea of this, if you haven't gone through the ideation processes, you're really gonna struggle to fill out the rest of this lean business canvas. So again, building a business will be so much easier if this is clear and if you have it. I'd also recommend to limit this to 1 problem if possible, and definitely do not have more than 3. But with these 3 problems, I want you to only list 1 solution. So if you can fit it, if you can't fit it into this small space, it's too complex. Again, we're focusing on concise, making it really clear. So for example, I'll show. I'm almost halfway through. I'll go to examples later. All right, so next is the proposition and advantage. So this is where you try and get your benefits down to 1 point. So this is where you're using follow-up points to express additional benefits, and you're keeping it, again, to no more than 3. So another thing you should focus on is the harder it is to copy your advantages, the better. So we have an example here, and this is from Ladder. It's a great company that really helps you grow your business. They have a wonderful blog, great resources if you ever want to check it out. So their idea is essentially training people on how to start their own business. So their advantages: founding team with lots of startup experience, and they're also I love how they have in quotations. This is their preposition. This is the clear point. So this is what, it's kind of like an elevator pitch, not necessarily, but their main benefit from idea to fundable startup. And then here's their 3 supporting follow-up points. All right. And again, if you have any questions, please let me know and I will pause. All right, customer channels and influence. So if you have a clearly defined problem and a good idea of what your main benefit is, you should be able to picture in your head what type of person would be most interested in that offering. Also, I have a webinar that's available on our YouTube channel all about identifying your customers. Recommend watching that if you need help kind of figuring out how to access demographic profiles. Again, we have another database for that, and it makes it really easy to understand how those customers communicate, what channels they use. So that's an aspect of this. Channels, it's how your ideal customer interacts with your product, your service, or even what social media tools do they use. So for example, in Champaign-Urbana, the majority demographic we have here is, they are young adults with maybe 1 child, but approximately aged 21 to 30. So that is the biggest demographic here. They don't have a ton of money, but for some reason, when you're marketing to them, they are most susceptible to radio. I'm right outside of that range, and I would not have thought that radio was the best way to market to that specific demographic. But again, we have this amazing tool, Gale Demographics, that kind of goes into each of these customer identifying profiles and identifies the channels that they are most likely to be positively receptive to. So once you know your customer, again, so these individuals, they have a wantrepreneur, which I love that phrase. And then they identified, they also have a solo founder. So another thing to consider is if you have more than one type of customer. So in my business example, I'm going to go ahead and go over to it. Okay, here we are again. My customer segments, I had 2. So, and this is my business idea is for essentially a app/website, an event space for young adults. So our main demographic in Champaign-Urbana. So 2 types of customers. My first one would be business owners, organizations, and community members who would want to be utilizing my portal essentially to post the events that they have. And then my other customer are college students or like young adults who don't want to use social media or go to every establishment's website to see what's going on. So in that the case, you can tell that these 2 different customers, they're very different people. So I would even recommend creating an additional lean canvas just to kind of understand how each of those customers are going to be interacting with your product or service. Okay, do we have any questions about customer segments? And I'm going to go back to this. Okay, so next we have alternatives and concepts. So this is essentially where so this is in the bottom of the problem. So this isn't really spelled out on Gale Demographics Lean Canvas. I think it's important to definitely include the alternatives and concepts though, because it allows you to kind of, again, just have a broader idea of your current market, the current market that you're wanting to kind of reach out into. So for alternatives, you might list a couple of products or businesses that your potential customers are already using to solve the problem that you're addressing. So can you also make maybe a popular analogy for how your business works? Like why would a young adult be likely to use my event site over just Facebook, for example, because Facebook has, I mean, that's where I typically go for events. And so, I mean, just being aware of that will allow you to make a better product or service. And so then going over to concept. So this is essentially, again, kind of boiling down what you're solving. So your X for Y analogy, I really like how that's, so it might be, this is a way to convey a lot of information. So it might be what for what. So special forces training for startup founders. So my concept for the event website would be intuitive platform for events, intuitive event platform for young adults. And that would be my concept. Nice and easy. Okay, next on this we have the metrics, cost, and revenue. So these are the unit economics of your business. And at top level, you're asking yourself, how are you going to be making your money? Excuse me. What do you spend your money on? And what is important to track to tell if you're doing a good job or not? Wow, we're gonna... Good morning. Okay, so you really only need a very high level view of your costs. Again, this is a really easy, quick thing just to glance and look at before you go in depth in the business plan. So think about what are your biggest outgoings. So I also want you to avoid the temptation of having multiple revenue streams, because the best option is honestly sometimes just to have one, because then it gets too complicated and it might turn off some investors. And then lastly, make sure the key metrics are actionable. Can you make changes to affect these numbers. So for example, for my event planning thing, our event portal, one key metric would be usage, especially if it's a ticketed event. Maybe I'm going to have like a $2 flat fee that I'm going to take whenever someone purchases a ticket. So that would be like my percentage sell rate for tickets. That would be a key metric that I can track. Okay, so I'm going to again switch my screen. So essentially that's your lean business canvas. And let's go back to this. Okay, so now that we've filled out this canvas, so see how easy it is to understand your business venture when you, again, just focus on what is the most important for every step and see how the limited spaces here, they really focus clarity of thought. And now it's really easier for you to compare and contrast your business ideas. So now that we have this filled out, we're going to address the elevator pitch and your business statement. So once this is done, we can then move on to the business plan itself. And again, I really want to encourage you to make sure that you're testing out this idea, creating that MVP, getting a lot of really good feedback, and people genuinely invested, maybe financially invested in your service or product before you go on to the business plan, because I believe on average it takes about someone 4 to 8 weeks to really do a thorough business plan. So again, this is a lot of your expensive time, and time is money. So I'm going back to the dashboard. Okay, this also includes break-even analysis, which is absolutely helpful. So I had already filled it out, but let's edit it just so you can see what's going on. So again, if this is a little confusing, they have a guide me right here that will take you through what to input for each of these. I also love that the helpful resources right here. So we see kind of this little newspaper. This will actually open a new tab going into the Gale, another Gale database, Gale Business Entrepreneurship. So these are just supplemental resources that go into what exactly this means, how to calculate this, how to figure it out. So this is employee payroll and oh my gosh, deductions. So maybe how much are you going to put in for health insurance? How many employees are you going to need? How much are you going to pay them? This allows you to figure this out, and this whole break-even analysis kind of helps also realistically say, like, can I actually make money from this? So this is with my whole event planning website. I figured, well, I can sell ads, maybe like some really accessible ones for smaller places, maybe like 25 bucks, so like bigger ones for bigger, and then event processing fee, and then maybe I'll also create like specialty tickets. Again, this business plan was, I had to add this in order to break even. So these are actually, I would recommend, this is not the best business idea because there might be one too many revenue streams, or too many different services that I'm offering for this not really simple product. So again, this is the cost. So how much of my time would it cost for me to maybe like write one sentence? So about 3 minutes. So I'm just going to say like 5 minutes if I want to pay myself $1 an hour or a minute. And then how much would you sell it for? And then it calculates the margin. So, and then it goes on to capital, which is why we write a business plan. So we can either get some capital or kind of understand how much debt we're going to need to be getting into in order to make this business idea go off the ground. Yeah, so this is just an overview of, so these are my predicted sales. It also has really great resources on estimated growth. I think most commonly, yeah, for a stable business, 2 to 3% is typical, but for my app/website, I expect a significant growth in the first year and then it tapering off. So that's what I reflected it. And then after you've inputted all of these numbers, informations, we're going over to the report, and you can see what your break-even analysis is. I have fixed, I'm pretending I have a fixed rent So that's the only thing I'm paying for in addition to internet service or internet use. It would still just be me and my company. So that's why I have fixed costs at a solid. Operating cost isn't really getting any higher. Sales revenue does taper off, but it is still profitable. Cool. Okay, back to the dashboard, and now let's focus on the business plan. So like another reason why I love Gale. Business plans are formal business writing. Uh, Gale allows you, they actually have a wonderful template that you can export this into that organizes everything really completely. I'm going to go ahead and download it so you all can see what exactly it looks like. And while that download is in progress, let's go into business plan. So I'm also going to be emailing you, we don't need to do that twice. This business plan I made because instead of a traditional business plan, I kind of wrote in prompts, how you can kind of fill this out yourself. So I have my company name and type. Again, it makes it so easy to write a business plan. I love it. You're just plugging in information. So I've decided my company is called Sauce because who doesn't love some sauce? I thought of what can be hip to these young adults that I'm targeting. So sauce it is. All right, so I'm going back to the business plan. You will notice if you click on the business plan icon, it's going to take you to a different screen. It's essentially the same thing. I'm not sure why they have a different platform to access it, but I prefer what the dashboard looks like. So I can just go into it and see it all together. So business plans, we're first going into, I think, the hardest thing for people to create. And again, that's just asking questions about yourself and your company based off of what you have put in to the lean canvas. So I'm going to focus on two things here for this business plan, which I think are the hardest to do. And that is the mission statement / summary, and then also kind of a lot of people that I've talked to, they typically have a lot of questions regarding marketing and kind of figuring out what to do there. I also really recommend utilizing, so the Gale Business Entrepreneurship, again, this I'm gonna just search up. Does anyone have an example or exactly what their business is about? And I can definitely find an example of a business plan. So since mine was event planning, not really, but we're just going to search event planning. In Gale Entrepreneurships, it not only gives me 43 business plan examples, but it also gives me relevant resources and also different directories. So these are actually people who are those. And it also pulls out information from magazines and journals, even news. So this is from 2021. So again, this is constantly updated. Shoes. Ooh, we love shoes. So shoes is kind of like a Zappos model, which that is a fascinating start to their business. I didn't know that the founder of Zappos, all he literally did was create a website where he took pictures of shoes at physical shoe stores and then just sold them online before really going forward with his business ideation. So he also created this MVP, this testing and making sure that the consumers were really into buying shoes online versus in person before going forth. So here's a shoe store. Business plan example, Thomas & Shoes. It is great to kind of see, yes, sell shoes to mid-market customers in the Boston area. That is a concise mission, or that is a concise statement of their concept, what they're doing. So breaking down the mission. I think sometimes when I think of mission, I'm just like, well, this is so easy for nonprofits. What about the shoe salesman? Because mission kind of implies that it's just this holier than thou, what ideals we need to do, or why we're just so much better than the average shoe store. Oh, we also have organizational stationery. I love stationery. These are awesome. You guys are catering to my specific interests. I appreciate that. Okay, so when you're building out a mission statement, I'm going back to there we go, plan builder. I believe it's company background. So I'll actually just plug in and try to edit this. edit link business plan. So here is it broken down. You can go into summary. So elevator pitch goes here, company background, asking yourself all of these questions. All right, I'm gonna switch back to, sorry about all the switches. I assumed that I could just do this on the same one. I appreciate your patience. Okay, so mission and values. I am of the generation that loves a good ad lib. So this is kind of what I found is the best to kind of see. So Terry, my company, Terry's Shoes, is developing maybe a website to sell these shoes to help mid-income, yeah, your defined audience. So your exact target market. And it could be, let's do mid-income families with children to help stressed out parents find comfortable, stylish shoes with maybe your secret sales technique or your sales technique. So I had made my company sauce. So that was my ad lib that I filled in. So this is essentially helps you also taking that concept, taking your defined offering and applying it to your, again, defined audience, showing your essentially problem, solving the problem that they have. So maybe the Terry shoes that he wants to sell to families, stressed out parents aren't able to find shoes that their children will both like, easy to put on, that's also stylish. And then secret sauce. What makes your company different? Why are these parents more likely to buy these children's shoes from you versus someone else? So I would also recommend, this is pretty basic. I think you can definitely improve your business, your mission further by maybe taking out a lot of this jargon. So the goal is to make this as concise, as easy to understand as possible. I think if we could transform this mission statement into half the length, it would be fantastic. So something catchy, something that's easy to understand. So less of an elevator pitch, more of a concept that also conveys your values or what problem that you are solving. Okay, and then the next one, I'm going to focus a little bit on marketing. So business plans do include just kind of a marketing plan, marketing analysis. So things to consider. The first one is the marketing funnel. Is anyone familiar with the marketing funnel? So this essentially allows your customers to okay, so it is the journey of how someone becomes a customer and beyond. So what keeps them being a customer? So where do they start? How do they learn about your product? Why do they buy your product? Why do they tell other people about your product? Because we all know word of mouth is the best advertisement and marketing that is out there. So this essentially just is a funnel. This is where people are starting. So TOFU, not the food, but it stands for top of the funnel. This is the tactics you use to generate awareness. So in your business plan, you are going to determine, okay, so am I using blog articles? Am I using SurveyMonkey to get people kind of aware of it? Am I creating a just a web page for people to see what's in there? So interest also is combined with awareness. So middle of the funnel, MOFU, these are the tactics that you're going to be using to generate the leads. So leads are, and essentially you're bringing people to your website to more information about your product. So sending emails, doing free trials, product videos, advertisements. And lastly, bottom of the funnel. So tactics you use to generate customers and keep them satisfied. So once someone buys something for you, are you going to have maybe a referral program for them? Are you going to have a customer service appreciation day where you're like, hey, you bought here before, here's 25% off? Are you like Terry, are you going to maybe email the people that responded to your first survey and be like, thank you for responding to the survey. Here's a coupon, or here's a special, you get this with your first purchase of shoes. So going through this, it just kind of allows you to let your investor know, let the person who's reading your business plan, what steps you're going to take in order to successfully advertise and sell your product. Okay, I'm going to go back to, this is my last share. Okay, back to the dashboard. So I had downloaded the business plan. I really want to show you what it looks like. So we are going to zoom out quite a bit. There's my sauce. These are peppers that my husband dried and grew. That's my logo. So this is how it puts it all together. It has like a disclosure statement, contact information, table of contents. Again, making sure this looks really professional. Business writing is perfect. It includes the summary, your company background, direction. So it looks beautiful. And who you're not, oh, dang it. Okay, thank you so much. I'm gonna new share again. Thank you, Terry. I apologize. Okay, so here is the PDF business plan, and you all should be able to see this now. Great. Okay, yes, so this is concise information. Everything that you inputted into that business plan, it's outputted it into this beautiful format that is incredibly professional looking. So again, I'll be emailing this to you all just so you can kind of see what to put for your own business plan. And again, I really want to encourage you all to, once you start filling out this information about your company, to reach out. If you want me or a colleague of mine to look it over, even if that's just editing grammatical items, just checking for grammar, and even just seeing like, how does it look? Madeleine, give me some feedback. So I will be doing that. Okay, screen sharing has stopped. Cool. I am going to lastly share the Statista. So I'll show you how to access that. Okay, let's exit out of this. Okay, going back to the business page on Book a Librarian, I'm scrolling down, clicking on Statista. So one of the main reasons why we write business plans are to get funding from stakeholders. So while the Lean Canvas did a great job of replacing the business model story that you traditionally see, you still need to have this long business plan because your stakeholders want to know how you're going to get those KPIs, those key performance indicators, why they should invest in that. And they also want to know about the numbers. So Statista is amazing. It is, let me make sure that this is all working. Yes, it has the most data out of all of our databases, and I love how everything is organized. It does seem a little bit intimidating, but I can assure you it is well worth checking it out. Okay, so to Statista, I'm going to the top of the screen. I'm going to Tools, Business Plan Export. So this is essentially data sets for your specific business plan. So what you're going to be doing here is essentially selecting the specific market that your business is in, and then this database has already exported all of the relevant data to that. So information on industry pertaining to your region. Unfortunately, one of the drawbacks of Statista, it's nationally used. So instead of like narrowing down your data to Illinois, it's just the United States, but still very relevant, still really great for your business. So I'm going to do this real quickly. Start data export. So you're able to choose your market. So we had shoes, footwear. Next up, region, United States. And I'm scrolling down, summary, start data export. That's all you do. and it is downloading a really nice Excel file where it has a lot of great instructions in here. And I'm going to go ahead and share that because I've learned now that it won't automatically change. Okay, so here's the data set. So at the bottom right-hand corner, I'm going over to the data. So this is all of the relevant information that Statista has that will help bulk up your business plan and support why investors and stakeholders should invest in this. So I'm out of time, but I'm going to quickly finish this up. Again, it tells you exactly what to do. And if you have additional questions about utilizing this aspect of Statista, please feel free to reach out and let me know, because if librarians like one thing, it's data. Okay, and again, you can export this into a really nice PDF and just attach it to your business plan in order to increase the likelihood of you getting some stakeholders and investors. Okay, so my last share of the day. Okay, let's present this. Oh, it's because I can't see it. All right, well, I have some resources here again. I will be emailing you all with the books that I really enjoyed, the websites that I used. We also have some really great LinkedIn learning videos that went into concisely making your business plan. I think someone here might be really interested in learning how to do a business proposal. LinkedIn has a really amazing resource on that, and I will be sharing it with you. And to finish up, I'm Madeleine Wolske. I'm the business librarian here at Champaign Public. I had a great time this morning talking to you all about building your business plan, making sure your business idea is feasible, and working to ensure its success. And I really want to encourage you to join me next Monday, so the 1st at 7 p.m. we have a webinar that is all about telling your brand story. So Elisa Green is a local photographer and branding expert. She's going to be showing us how to push your brand forward through photography. So this could include taking images of your products, taking images for your website, or maybe even how to set up your social media to promote your products and services to the best of their abilities. So I really want to encourage you all to stop by, sign up on our website, champaign.org/events. You're also able to peruse all of our other amazing resources at the library, all of our other great events. Our webinars are not limited to business. We also have some great tech options, career and crafty adults, and that's just for adults. I mean, kids and teens are incredible as well. So I will log off this morning. It is only 9 a.m. Say a big thank you again all for joining. I really want to encourage you to reach out. I am so excited and really eager to hear about your business goals, what you're wanting to do, what you're doing right now, and see if I can help in any way and really utilize our free resources, our community resources, and help you to succeed and help your overall success. So thank you again. You all have a wonderful Thursday, and it feels like the weekend's already here. So I will sign off. It doesn't look like we have any questions, but thank you all. Have a wonderful morning.